Hello, did you know that October is Emotional Wellness Awareness Month? Tried to say that nice and slow so I didn't trip over myself with those words. And it doesn't have to be October for us to focus on emotional wellness because it's always important. But I thought I would take this opportunity to talk about it a little bit and to give you five things that you can do to increase and feed your emotional well-being, because it is important all the time. Our emotions are extremely important. I talk about them frequently, and because I'm Danielle Bernack from DanielleBernack.com, love yourself from Survive to Thrive, that lady on the internet who loves you, mwah, your emotional wellness is important to me. And so the first thing that you can do to help yourself increase in your emotional wellness is to feed on things that uplift you emotionally. Things like listening to specific kinds of music that build you up emotionally, either the music itself or the words that are in that music. You can feed on positive things like quotes and Bible verses, watching feel-good movies, and reading a book that lifts you up, a self-help book, one of mine if you want, Because You Matter and Emerging with Wings. But even a good novel that just makes you feel good. To feed on that uplifting stuff is one way to improve and increase and support your emotional wellness. And the second thing that you can do to increase your emotional wellness is to get the proper amount of sleep. And I wanted to single that one out before I went into and other things of good self-care, because getting good sleep is something a lot of people struggle with. They're too busy, so they're not paying attention to it. They're staying up too late, or they're setting their alarm but hitting their snooze over and over and over again, which then they're getting broken sleep. Or maybe they have sleep issues. Do you have sleep issues? And they can be coming from many different things. Sleep issues can be coming from nutritional things that we need to deal with, which is another thing of self-care. Or it could be because of trauma in your life. Or it could be because of stress. Or it could be because of some medication you're on that has a side effect. There are many reasons that we have sleep issues. And the good news is you can do something about them. And I want to encourage you to do that, because a good night's sleep is just phenomenal for our well-being. And the third thing you can do to increase your emotional wellness is to build resilience. Build resilience into you. I have a couple of articles on my website, DanielleBernack.com, dealing with resilience. And I just submitted an article to a publication and made a video about how to build resilience, because it is so powerful. And one of the ways to build resilience is my fourth way of increasing your emotional wellness, and that's relationships. To build your relationships, to have good, healthy relationships. Like, I'm in my car today because I have the privilege of picking up my granddaughter from school. She doesn't get out for a little bit, and I got here early so that I could share this time with you. But picking her up from school is one of the ways that I work on building my relationship with her. I have boundaried times set aside to spend time with my grandchildren so that I build relationships with them, because relationships cost time. A lot of other things we put into relationships, but you can't have a relationship if you never spend any time. Even if your love language is not time, it still takes time to build a relationship. And so the fifth thing that is good to build and strengthen your emotional wellness is to deal with your feelings. To not suppress them, to not push them off, to not ignore them, but to deal with them. And that means dealing with stress. Stress is an everyday thing, and there are things you can do to intentionally address the stress so that it doesn't affect you as negatively. And if you have grief going on in your life, to allow yourself to feel those feelings, to work through them. There's a thing called grief work that you can do for that. And trauma in your life. I was just listening to my podcast with Daphne and was reminded about how the line, "it could be worse," is not a good measure for you're being treated properly. And so if you're in a situation and you're like, well, it could be worse, why don't you pause there and give yourself permission to dive a little deeper and see, are you being treated properly? And then to deal with that, to deal with those feelings, to deal with your situation. And so the 5 things for your emotional wellness are to feed on uplifting stuff, get some good sleep and other self-care, build resilience into yourself, focus and build on having healthy relationships, and to deal with your feelings. And so I know this will be helpful for you. Go back and listen to it over and over again. Happy Emotional Wellness Month. But this is good all year long because your emotional wellness matters. And until next time, I love you.